If you're a startup founder or entrepreneur, this video could transform your business and your life, because this product, it costs less than 2 cents to produce and sells for over $2 at Walmart. And if you don't have such a phenomenal profit margin in your business, this video is for you, because this product is hiding the biggest business secret of your life. I'll reveal what it is in a minute, but the most amazing thing is, you're getting whacked with this 100 times per day and you can't see it. You can't see it because of your biggest blind spot. And this is a problem, because you're missing out on the biggest opportunity of your life. An opportunity sitting right under your nose. In the last 3 months, I've been looking at over 200 new startups every week. And almost all of them, 98%, are suffering from this treacherous blind spot. It pains me every time I see a startup suffering from it. So let's try something new. In this video, I'm gonna keep whacking you between the eyes, but in a loving way. And hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll manage to break through your blind spot and finally be able to see what almost no one can. Because if you do, you'll get access to the most powerful and free tool for turning pennies into billions. It has turned this 2-cent product into $4.1 billion in cash. You'll see exactly what this is in a minute. I just need to whack you a couple of times first, because we want to eliminate your blind spot, remember? So strap yourself in, because I'm gonna keep whacking you in this video real hard. But if you manage to break through your blind spot, you're gonna love it and thank me later. Are you ready? When you have a product or service that anyone can copy in a minute, what's the one and only thing no one can copy? What's the one and only thing that can create an absolutely insurmountable moat around your product or an insurmountable moat around your business that protects you from competition better than anything else? What's the one and only thing that makes it possible for any startup to force even the biggest industry-dominating giants, including Fortune 500 corporations, onto their knees? Come on, think! Hint, it's the exact same thing that, if done right, can make your customers spread the word about your product or service faster than wildfire. It's the exact same thing that, if done right, can make your customers want to buy your product or service, even if they've never heard of it before. And it's the exact same thing that, if done right, can make your customers want to buy your product or service, even if it's the most expensive one in your category. If you don't have a giant blind spot in this area, you've guessed it correctly. It's the name. Idiots like this one will tell you that the name doesn't matter. That is only true if you win the jackpot in the lottery of business. But if you aren't drinking pure luck by the bucket every morning, it matters more than anything else you could ever have in your business. And here's the best proof you'll ever see in your life. A startup selling the most easily copyable product in the world, bottled water, has initially forced the Fortune 500 corporation behind Pepsi onto their knees. And the Fortune 500 corporation behind Coca-Cola realized they had no other choice but to surrender. The Coca-Cola company had no other choice but to pay $4.1 billion in cash to buy this startup that was just selling bottled water. Think about it for a minute. This is by far the most easily copyable product in the world. Any idiot can copy this product in a minute. Why would people buy this product like crazy, even though they've never heard of it before? No advertising. Why would people buy this product like crazy, even though this product in this exact bottle was the most expensive one in their category? The only reason people were buying this product like crazy is because of the names they saw on these bottles, or rather the persuasive power coming from those names. And that's also the reason why Coca-Cola had no other choice but to pay a mountain of cash to buy this startup. The startup that controlled two names, Smart Water and Vitamin Water. Those product names and those names alone turned this 2-cent product into a product that draws people in like bees to honey. Despite the fact they've never heard of it before, and despite the fact it's the most expensive product in that category. And yes, the persuasive power of a great name is just as strong in the business-to-business space, because it has to do with human psychology, and people who make decisions in B2B are not robots. But no one who pays for a Salesforce product would ever admit that the name Salesforce had any influence on their decisions. Most people aren't even aware of the psychological triggers that influence their decisions, because those triggers tend to work on a subconscious level. Of course, Salesforce is the undisputed market leader. But how much of that leadership position was cemented by the name? That bottled water startup gives you the answer to that question. Because bottled water is the most easily copyable product in the world. There's nothing else that could have made such a ginormous difference. There's nothing else that could have forced Coca-Cola to pay such a mountain of cash for a startup that was just selling bottled water. This is how you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that if done right, a great name can give you the greatest persuasive power you could ever have in your business. But wait, a great name gives you a lot more than that. Once Pepsi realized that this bottled water startup was growing like crazy, growing without any advertising, Pepsi tried to imitate with a similar name. But that is against the law. You cannot use a similar name for a competing product. So Pepsi had to pay dearly for their mistake and had to immediately cease their imitation. Coca-Cola watched the whole thing, and this market-dominating giant decided that they had no other choice but to surrender. Coca-Cola had no other choice but to shell out $4.1 billion in cash for a company that controlled two names. Two names that made people buy this overpriced product like crazy. Two names that made this startup grow like crazy without any advertising. At that time, Coca-Cola already owned over 50 brand names for bottled water alone. But none of those names had the persuasive power of Smart Water and Vitamin Water. Not even close! Actually, the whole thing started with Smart Water, and to this day, the name Smart Water remains a huge sales driver. Although the corporate knuckleheads from Coca-Cola recently messed up the name on the label, it's much less readable now than it used to be before the sale to Coca-Cola. This fancy shit that they've done with the name makes the name much less readable and therefore less effective. Your brain has to do more work to decipher the words when it's written like this. And that split-second extra effort ruins the effect that the name had when it was better readable. And this is what happens when you put corporate idiots in charge of anything. They have absolutely no fucking clue about marketing whatsoever. Coca-Cola spends $4 billion per year on advertising doing branding, which is the least effective form of marketing. Branding does work on such a large scale, but if you have a great name and excellent marketing, you can beat the shit out of any Fortune 500 company that relies solely on branding and salespeople. And that's exactly what happened with the Smart Water startup beating Pepsi and Coca-Cola. The lesson is a great product name or brand name, not just a good one. A great name is the best free strategic tool you can have to protect your product from competition, to make people want to buy your product like crazy, and to make people spread the word about your product, giving you the biggest possible amount of free advertising. But developing a great name isn't easy. This is why naming agencies charge between $10,000 and $100,000 for developing just one product name or brand name. A product name or a brand name is not the same as a brand. To build a brand that you can benefit from, you first have to spend a shitload of money, and you have to keep doing that for years or decades. Anyone who says otherwise is an idiot. 99% of all people who talk about branding or brand building have absolutely no fucking clue about marketing whatsoever. Branding is popular with those clueless idiots because it requires you to spend shitloads of money without seeing any results. I try to avoid using words like brand or branding to avoid being associated with those retards who preach branding. A great name doesn't need any of that branding bullshit. A great name works immediately when people read or hear it for the first time. A great name doesn't rely on spending any money on advertising. A great name instantly draws people in like bees to honey. A great name works on a subconscious level and makes people instantly want your product, even if it's the most expensive product in your category. And if you're in B2B, a great name makes people want to learn more about your product instead of ignoring it like they ignore your competition. And when the rubber hits the road and B2B decision makers have to decide between your product and your competition, a great name can be the final factor to tip the scales in your favor. Although none of the B2B decision makers will ever admit that this is the case. It probably won't even register in their conscious mind. A great name also makes it easy for people to spread the word about your product, and it makes them eager to spread the word. It makes people eager to do free advertising for you. So instead of spending a shitload of money on advertising, which is what you have to do with branding, a great name gives you a shitload of free advertising. A great name gives you more advertising for free than you could ever buy with money. So, especially if you are a startup and you make less than 10 million in sales per year, forget about branding and start thinking about naming. And not just average or good naming, great naming is what's gonna give you the edge. Can you succeed despite a shitty product name or brand name? Absolutely! You can succeed despite making every possible mistake. But for that to happen, you better start drinking pure luck by the bucket every morning. And if you don't have an endless supply of pure luck, great naming and excellent marketing is what you need to use to make Lady Luck bump into you. Lady Luck also has lots of siblings with similar superpowers. For example, Simon can literally make your dream come true. Make sure you bump into him. Jason, well, if you haven't read Jason's book, what are you even doing with your life? Just reading this book is like getting a kiss from Lady Luck. I haven't actually read it. I listened to the audiobook several times, but the hard copy is handy for looking things up. Sharon, in her book, she tells you how she built and sold a $25 million tech company without being an asshole and without any VC funding. Nicole, she could give you more money than Jason. And of course, these two guys could give you truckloads of money. Those are all siblings of Lady Luck. They just have different names. Speaking of names, if you'd like to use my expertise to develop a great product or brand name or to help you with exceptional marketing, feel free to get in touch on LinkedIn. And if you like this video and give it a like, I'll give you 12 magic questions that can bulletproof your business, even if you have a shitty product name. Because those magic questions are gonna make people think that your product is the answer to their prayers. And your competition is gonna have no clue why their customers are running over to your business. To see what those magic questions are, check out this video on my YouTube channel.